The morning sun had barely climbed above the airport's skyline when one decision shattered 8 years of loyalty in less than 60 seconds. A man who had spent nearly a decade making sure thousands of passengers returned safely to their families stood silently in the middle of the terminal, holding a worn lunch bag in one hand and a termination letter in the other. He had survived sleepless nights, violent storms, equipment failures, and countless emergencies without losing a single aircraft under his watch. But none of that mattered anymore. On that bright morning, the company's powerful CEO looked at one small mistake, a faded uniform shirt, and decided that the man who had protected the airline's reputation for 8 years no longer deserved to wear its badge. Sometimes life doesn't break your heart with a disaster. Sometimes it does it with a single sentence spoken by someone who never bothered to learn your name. Before we continue, if you believe kindness is stronger than pride, and that every hardworking parent deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribe to Hardworking Dad. Your support helps stories like this reach people who need them most. Every airport has people everyone notices, and people nobody notices. Travelers admired the pilots in crisp uniforms, flight attendants with bright smiles, and executives walking through VIP lounges. Few ever noticed the operations safety supervisor who arrived before sunrise every single day. His name was Everett Hale, a 43-year-old single father whose entire life revolved around two things: keeping airplanes safe and raising his 12-year-old son, Rowan. 8 years earlier, after losing his wife to a sudden illness, Everett had promised himself that no matter how difficult life became, Rowan would never grow up believing he had been abandoned. That promise cost Everett countless hours of sleep, endless overtime shifts, and nearly every luxury most people considered normal. Every weekday followed the same rhythm. Long before dawn painted the sky orange, Everett prepared breakfast, packed Rowan's school lunch, checked homework one last time, and drove him to school before reporting to the airport. His work demanded absolute concentration. Every maintenance report, weather update, inspection checklist, and emergency protocol crossed his desk. When storms rolled across the region, Everett often remained awake for more than 20 hours coordinating safe departures and arrivals. Many pilots privately admitted they trusted his judgment more than computerized forecasting systems because he never ignored even the smallest warning sign. Over 8 remarkable years, not a single preventable safety incident occurred under Everett's supervision. Company reports celebrated improved performance, investors praised operational excellence, and passengers unknowingly placed their lives in the hands of decisions Everett made every day. Awards decorated executive offices, while Everett quietly returned home each evening carrying groceries instead of trophies. Money was always tight. Medical bills from his late wife's illness had never completely disappeared. Rowan had recently joined the school's science club, and every extra dollar Everett earned disappeared into books, project materials, and school fees. His company issued uniform replacements every 2 years, but Everett postponed requesting new ones because he hated spending even the smallest amount on himself. He carefully washed and ironed his faded blue work shirt every night. Although the color had softened with age and one sleeve had been professionally stitched after tearing on equipment months earlier, the uniform remained clean, pressed, and respectable. Then came the morning everything changed. The airline announced an unexpected visit from its newly appointed CEO, Victor Langford, a businessman famous for demanding perfection in appearance, branding, and public image. Employees spent days polishing offices, replacing signs, and rehearsing presentations. Managers warned everyone that the CEO believed uniforms represented discipline and company pride. That same week, Rowan developed a severe fever. Everett spent 2 nights beside his son's bed, cooling his forehead with damp towels and making sure he took every dose of medicine. Sleep became almost impossible. Early on the morning of the CEO's inspection, Everett rushed Rowan to school after finally seeing his fever disappear. While leaving the house, Everett accidentally grabbed his older uniform shirt instead of the newer backup stored in the closet. He didn't even notice. By mid-morning, Victor Langford toured the operations center surrounded by executives and photographers. Everything looked perfect until his eyes landed on Everett's faded shirt. The CEO didn't ask about Everett's record. He didn't ask how many years the employee had served. He didn't ask why the uniform looked worn. He only saw an image that didn't match the polished company brand standing behind him. Within minutes, Human Resources received instructions. Policy violations concerning professional appearance required immediate disciplinary action. Since the CEO wanted to establish a stronger culture of excellence, exceptions would not be tolerated. Everett was escorted into a conference room before lunch. 8 years of flawless service disappeared behind one sheet of paper. The termination notice cited failure to maintain professional uniform standards during an executive inspection. No warning. No conversation. No acknowledgement of thousands of safe flights. Only dismissal. Everett accepted the envelope quietly because dignity was the only thing nobody could take from him. He collected his lunch bag, removed his identification badge, thanked the security officer who looked too uncomfortable to meet his eyes, and walked into the bright afternoon sunlight without knowing how he would explain everything to Rowan. Losing the paycheck hurt, but losing purpose hurt even more. For the first time since his wife's funeral, Everett sat alone in his car with tears running silently down his face. Not because he believed he deserved special treatment, but because he couldn't understand how years of sacrifice could weigh less than a faded shirt. That evening he smiled while helping Rowan build a model bridge for science class. He never mentioned losing his job. Rowan excitedly explained engineering ideas while Everett secretly calculated how long their savings could cover rent, groceries, electricity, and school expenses. Within weeks, the truth became impossible to hide. Bills accumulated. The family car required repairs. Everett sold his fishing equipment, his wedding watch, and even the old guitar his wife had once loved hearing him play. Still, he woke before sunrise every day because hardworking habits never disappear overnight. Instead of driving to the airport, he searched for employment across the city. Many companies admired his experience but chose younger applicants willing to accept lower salaries. Months passed. Meanwhile, unexpected problems began appearing at the airline Everett had once protected. Maintenance inspections were rushed. Weather delays increased. Communication mistakes multiplied. Minor incidents that Everett would have prevented became weekly occurrences. None caused serious disasters, but customer confidence slowly declined. Flight delays spread across social media, and aviation forums questioned why one of the industry's safest airlines suddenly seemed disorganized. An independent journalist researching operational changes interviewed former employees. Nearly everyone mentioned Everett Hale, describing him as the invisible backbone of flight safety. Curious, the journalist investigated company records and discovered something remarkable. During Everett's 8-year leadership, the airline had maintained one of the best safety performances in the country. After his dismissal, measurable performance steadily declined. The story exploded online. People weren't angry because someone violated a dress code. They were angry because loyalty had been discarded without compassion. Former pilots shared emotional memories about Everett staying overnight during dangerous storms to ensure every aircraft departed safely. Mechanics described him buying coffee for exhausted crews during holidays. New employees remembered how patiently he trained nervous recruits without seeking recognition. Passengers realized that someone they had never met had quietly protected their families for years. The article reached millions. Television stations requested interviews. Industry professionals openly criticized leadership that valued appearance more than character. Investors began asking difficult questions during shareholder meetings. Finally, Victor Langford requested a complete review of Everett's employment history. What investigators uncovered shocked even senior executives. Everett had voluntarily worked hundreds of unpaid emergency hours. He had personally identified maintenance issues that prevented potentially catastrophic failures. He had developed improved inspection procedures still used throughout the company. Several awards presented to executives had actually been earned through safety systems Everett quietly designed. The CEO stared at report after report describing extraordinary dedication from a man he had fired without learning anything about him. For perhaps the first time in his corporate career, Victor realized he had confused authority with wisdom. He asked human resources for Everett's contact information. The address led him not to an expensive neighborhood but to a modest apartment where Rowan was carefully watering vegetables growing in recycled containers on their tiny balcony. Victor knocked on the door carrying no photographers, no assistants, and no prepared speech. When Everett opened the door, neither anger nor bitterness appeared on his face. Only quiet surprise. The CEO finally saw what paperwork had never shown him. He saw a humble father whose home was filled with library books, school projects, family photographs, and evidence of countless sacrifices made with love instead of complaints. Victor apologized sincerely. He admitted that he had judged a man by fabric instead of character. He confessed that one rushed decision had cost both Everett and the company far more than anyone realized. He offered Everett his old position back immediately, along with a promotion to Director of Operational Safety, full back pay, updated benefits, and a scholarship covering Rowan's education through college. Everett remained silent for a long moment. Forgiveness wasn't easy. But bitterness would teach Rowan the wrong lesson. So Everett accepted, not because the company deserved another chance, but because second chances have the power to change everyone involved. His first day back felt different. Employees lined the operations hallway applauding as Everett walked through the doors wearing a brand new uniform that looked no brighter than the integrity he had always carried inside himself. The applause wasn't for a promotion. It wasn't for publicity. It was for a man who proved that true professionalism is measured by responsibility, sacrifice, and compassion, not by perfectly pressed sleeves. Over the following years, Everett introduced a simple leadership policy throughout the airline. Before any disciplinary decision became final, managers had to understand the employee's complete story. Performance, personal circumstances, and years of dedication would always matter alongside company rules. That policy transformed the workplace. Employee trust increased. Safety records returned to record-breaking levels. Turnover dropped dramatically. Most importantly, people felt seen. Years later, Rowan graduated with honors in aerospace engineering. Standing proudly beside his father, he told reporters that the greatest lesson he had ever learned wasn't about airplanes or science. It was about never allowing someone else's unfair judgment to define your worth. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with family and friends, and subscribe to Hardworking Dad. Your support helps spread stories that remind people kindness still exists in this world. Special request: comment below with, "Character matters more than appearance." Let's fill the comments with a message every hardworking parent deserves to hear. Life has a strange way of revealing what truly matters. Uniforms eventually fade. Buildings grow old. Job titles change. But quiet acts of responsibility, love, and sacrifice leave marks that never disappear. Everett Hale never became a hero because someone recognized him. He became a hero because he chose to keep doing the right thing even when nobody was watching. And in the end, the world finally learned that the safest hands are often the ones carrying the heaviest burdens with the gentlest hearts.